This is a short bite episode of Homeschool Together. Hello and welcome to Homeschool Together Short Bite Edition. Thanks so much for joining us. We know you're sitting there and you want to message one of your friends about this new cool, super cool, awesome mom and dad podcast that you just found, and that would be wonderful. Make sure you tell a friend and pass it on. Today we were talking about a new game that we got for Christmas. Was this a Christmas one?
Yes, we gave this to our daughter for Christmas.
So I have a Ariel, when we win the lottery, the Mega Millions or the Powerball or whatever it is.
I'm sorry, I'm sniggering here.
And we have our giant manor. I'm going to name it Glen Warren. I'm trademarking that one.
Yeah, okay.
Glen Warren.
I'm sure that's the name of something already, but okay.
Probably.
People in the UK are like, yeah, dude.
Yeah, there's like a Glen Warren on every corner. We have a game
something really famous
for a castle. Not just any castle. It's a create your own castle. Once Upon a Castle. It's a wonderful game that you can draw your own castle.
Right, yep. So Once Upon a Castle is a game for 2 to 4 players from Blue Orange. It says ages 8 and up.
And Blue Orange is good. We like Blue Orange.
Everything Blue Orange does pretty much is good. I haven't tried Battle Sheep, and I don't think it's my jam, but everything else I think is really good. Okay, so this says 8 players, ages 8 and up, and I think that's right. We got it for our daughter. She's 7. She can play this, but she doesn't play it as skillfully as I think an 8-year-old. I think that 8's probably right, although she really enjoys it. Probably half an hour. Yeah. So the goal of this game is to, as Matt said, draw your own castle. And the fun part about this game is that you're actually rolling dice to collect resources to build different pieces of your castle. And these dice have different symbols on them. So, you need stone, you need money, you need food, you need wood, right? Different pieces. And the combinations, you have like a little board and you'll put tokens on them when you roll these resources. So you roll 2 dice, you get some resources, and then on your board, you will put a token on those resources. And there's a couple of those resources on each board in different rows.
And you can gather resources both vertically and horizontally.
Right. So you have like a grid.
Way to punch those tickets to the goods that you need.
So you got a grid, and on the grid, as you lock in the resources that you have, if you complete a whole row or you complete a whole column, you get different rewards. Like, I completed the whole first row, which means I'm going to get a tower for 2 points, and I'm going to get a banner for 2 points. And then you have the great stack of drawing cards, and you'll have your own. It has an outline of a castle on it, and so I get to draw the castle. I get to
Color
I draw
it in, do different
right. So
designs.
We all have different colored pencils and stuff, and I get to draw in my tower. So you can build towers and walls and banners. You can put people in your castle. There's also a big, they call it the Donjon Tower. There's a big tower in the back that you can build, and you get different things for that. So you basically are rolling dice, collecting resources, and then deciding to spend them to build pieces of your castle. Now, the cool thing, and one of the mechanics that Matt and I really love about games, is when everybody gets to play on every turn.
Yep.
We really love that.
Space Base. We have with the one we just reviewed, Cascadia.
Yeah, Seven Wonders has got a piece of this. Cascadia doesn't have doesn't do that. Cascadia doesn't do it, but Seven Wonders does.
Seven Wonders, the new Seven Wonders.
Sushi Go, everybody plays at the same time. There's a lot of games like that where everybody plays. Well, so one of the things about this is you roll the 2 dice, and everybody, you as the active player get both of the dice, but everybody else gets one of the dice.
That's right.
And they get to choose what that is, and they get to put it on their board.
It's very similar to Space Base.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's really kind of nice because everybody gets something every turn. So you're collecting resources even when it's not your turn, and then on your turn you can spend them. So that's really neat. One of the things that happens when you build that back tower is you actually get cards of people guests who or I think they're residents in your or guests
they come
in
your castle
in your castle, and they're just different point value cards. So that's like the most basic way to play the game.
And the second thing that we like most about a lot of games, not that you just get to play on every single turn, but also when games have built-in expansions or next level abilities, like where you can play the game at a more complex level.
Right, like we talked about Cascadia a few weeks back. It has the family variant edition, where everything is just about the biggest group of animals. This one too, what I've just described is kind of the most basic game where you build your walls and your towers, and you get some victory points at the end of the game based on what they were worth, what your towers and your banners and things were worth. So the other side of everybody's board where you collect these resources is a much more advanced variant where you're still collecting the resources. It still works the same way, but there are opportunities to get special cards, and those cards all have special abilities on them. So once you collect one of those cards, you can steal a card from another player. One allows you to draw clouds in the sky, and every cloud's worth a couple points.
Yeah. And we had to put a house rule on that one because it seemed a little overpowered.
It was a little overpowered. But overall, there's more options. So there's lots of cool things about this. One of the things that I like that's neat is on these boards, and y'all can't see these boards, but they're pretty cool looking. They're very sturdy. I like the construction.
Yeah, I do too.
When you're looking to, like, let's say build a tower, for example, it's not just one row. There's like 3 different rows that allowed you to build towers, but they're worth different amounts of points. Yes. So you could say, well, I only need a couple of resources. I can build a 1-point tower. Or I could save up, have more resources for a different line that builds me a 4-point tower. Yep. But you have to kind of balance it because at some point, someone's going to complete all 4 walls, all 4 towers, and all 4 levels of the Donjon Tower, and the game will be over. Yeah. So you might not be able to finish it. You might have to make some strategic decisions about what you're going to go for. Yeah. So some cards allow you to steal things, but some cards allow you to do special things.
That's with any resource type of allocation game, especially one where you get to play resources on every single turn. It's really the luck of the draw and how you want to play your strategy and like how fast you want to move through things. You have to make these decisions, and what the great thing is that there's these, the luck of the draw, the luck of the roll, in this case the roll, really plays into what type of strategy you can play and how it evolves over time.
Right.
You can start with one strategy and all of a sudden, hey, the food keeps coming up, so I'm going to, go for the donjons here, and that's going to get me filled up real quick.
If you just can't roll it.
Because that's going to get me new cards that allow me to then have more resources and more scaling multipliers. You start to think about the game as sort of like a scaffolding capabilities, right?
Yeah, so it's interesting. We played this game. We've played the basic side with our daughter a few times, and your mom, and everybody had a really good time.
Literally, everybody who's played this game has liked it.
Really liked it. And then we played it with our friends without our daughter, and we played the more advanced side, and we had a really good time with that, too.
I think we played it twice with them, too. Like
Yes, we did play it twice.
It's one of the rare times, it's a good game when your gaming friends play, and then we turn right around and go, let's play this again.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen all the time.
It doesn't. And I think it's interesting too, when you're collecting these resources, you have these little tokens that you're setting on your board, and you can't move them after they go down. And there aren't enough tokens to fill your entire board. So you have to be a little bit strategic too, because there were some times when people got themselves stuck because they had no more tokens
left.
So
they had to get something that was lower value or
they
something
didn't
that they didn't want, and it crippled their strategy and their plan.
Right. And so one side of the pad has got this outline of this castle with the people and then the towers and stuff. The other side's blank for you to come up with your own imaginative tower design or castle design, which I think is really fun. So we had a good time.
The rule still applies, though. You have the four walls.
Oh yes,
four corners,
same castle.
Yeah, four towers, and then the one donjon. Like you can't just go like, okay, my wall has this. It's a star pattern.
Right. It's the same. Yeah, it has to be the same basic layout, but you can make it as fancy as you want. And we had a really good time with it. I think with our friends, we played the first side with the outline, and then the second side, we all just made up whatever we wanted to. And there's some special, extra rewards. First person to get to the end. There's a sun and a cloud, and I think the first person to get all 4 towers gets the cloud worth 4 points, and the person to end the game gets the sun worth 4 points. And we were all like really enjoying it on other people's turns. We were collecting resources too, but we were also all coloring, and it was like a really therapeutic game.
We dumped a bunch of color pencils, and you could like your people, you could color them in, make them have fun smiley hair, fun hair and like different smiley faces and stuff. You could really like go to town on it.
Yeah, I think this is a really great game to span, both kids and adults. Yeah. It's not too hard to play. Everybody gets something on every turn.
It's one of those ones where you look at it and you go, oh, that looks like it's for kids. And then you play it and you're like, wow, this is actually a lot of fun. Like I just didn't realize how much fun this would be.
Yeah, there's more strategy. It's very well balanced. I'll say the first time we played it, we had a 3-way tie for the exact same score.
We had to Schwazi for the winner.
Yeah.
And it was our daughter who won, right?
Yeah, she did. So it's a very well balanced game aside from that one card. And it's the cloud drawing card for whoever buys this game.
You can only play this is the house rule. You can only play it when you roll the number. Like it was a specific number.
You
had
to no. Anytime you rolled a question mark, which is a wild on the dice, you get to draw a cloud.
But we made it so that it's only on the person's turn.
Right.
It was ambiguous in the wording.
Right. And so every turn that anybody rolled a question mark, she just kept drawing 2-point clouds, and we were like, and she won by like 20 points over us. And we're like, I think this is actually a little overpowered.
She scored her score 2 different ways. She goes with that rule and without the rule. And if she didn't have that rule, she would have come in third. And then with the rule, she blew us all out.
Right. So we had to make a house rule about that. So
But
if you buy this game.
What's cool is you also, like if you have a card like that, you have the ability to take those type of things away from people. It's another way. And I think it was another vertical column that you could score.
Right. Yeah. There's another card that lets you take things away. But that's also tricky because then everybody just keeps stealing the same card over and over. So
and then you're blowing resources and not building your castle. Meanwhile, people like me are over in the corner building their castles, and you could just lose that way.
I think there's some really good strategy here, right? Yeah. I think that the things that we would use in an educational perspective are the planning element of, okay, that strategy of what am I going to go for and how many points does that equal? Because you don't have time to do everything. So you do have to make some tough decisions. You also have to plan a little bit ahead. There's things on the board for you to get banners, but you can't put a banner up until you've built the wall the banner's going to go on. Yeah. So, and
there's different scoring banner numbers. Like you can put a 1 or a 2 or a 3, a 3-point banner. Yeah.
Yeah. So those are those questions about, am I going to score a row that doesn't take as many dies, as many resources, but is a lower point value, so I can get going to something else, or maybe try to end the game faster before other people can complete their castles.
That may be a strategy. I really like this game. This game was fun.
Really fun.
It plays at all levels, both the young and the old, and that's really hard to have a game that plays really well with like a 6 or 7-year-old, but also plays with a grandma and then like some gaming friends. Like they could all play the same game together and have fun with that, and that's very rare. And Blue Orange, they do King Domino, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Queen Domino.
So if you have one of those 2 games, and Planet as well, we've loved all of them. I was leery about this because I didn't really like it. The box doesn't really tell you a lot about it. It looks, because it's like partially drawn castle. It looks like a kid's game type of thing, and you're like, oh, okay, sure, I'll come in. I was shocked, and we really like this one. This was a nice find.
Yeah, this is really good. So Once Upon a Castle from Blue Orange.
Thanks so much for joining us today and making us a part of your homeschool journey. Please engage with us on social media. Join our Homeschool Together podcast group on Facebook and find us at Homeschool Together Podcast on Instagram. We'd love to hear your feedback, questions, and recommendations. Until next time,
happy homeschooling!